Hi, it's Sandra and welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content, if you're liking it in any way, shape or form. Or if you just want to give this channel some like love, I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. If you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this beautiful book, Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. I'm also the founder of asexualise.com and the founder of Asexualise Academy. Welcome to the last in the series of Aromantic Awareness Week, and I particularly focus on asexuals, those who lack sexual attraction on this channel. So I'm going to be reading some of Henry's story from Asexual Perspectives so that we can get a real feel for what it's like to be an aromantic asexual in this highly sexualized world. So if you didn't know what an aromantic person is, often people pronounce it as a romantic person. This is a person who lacks romantic attraction. In the case of an asexual, they lack romantic attraction and they also lack sexual attraction. So obviously in a world that is highly sexualized, and a lot of the time stories tend to be highly romantic, that can make kind of very difficult for people who are not romantic or sexual at all to actually feel like they fit into society or the world. They can feel kind of like disconnected sometimes, especially when they're younger and they're at school and everyone's kind of like talking about relationships, dating, romance, sex. It can seem kind of really confusing for them and like, I don't know what they're talking about. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's important to highlight the fact there are people in the world that don't like romance. I'm a romantic person myself, so I'm not aromantic, but there are a lot of asexuals that are aromantic, and many of them don't desire to be in a relationship, but there are still some aromantic asexuals who are in relationships. So we must remember that every person is an individual and it's good to respect them. And so, yeah, what is it like for Henry to be in a highly sexualized world? So Henry's story, if you get my book, the link is in the description. It's page 335 and that's in the printed edition. And Henry's story is really unique in the fact that they discovered they were asexual when they were just 14 years of age, which is very young, but I believe you can know who you are at any age, right? I knew from the age of 15 years old that I did not want children ever at all in my life. And the doctor said to me, oh, you'll change your mind when you're older. And I haven't, and I don't, and I won't, because I don't want kids of my own. I never have done. I'm not into that lifestyle. I physically wouldn't want to have them of my own. I knew at 15 if I'd wanted them, I would have adopted when I was older. But, you know, I don't want that lifestyle. You know, I like living for me. I like being a career girl. I like living in an upside down life where basically I sleep in the day and work in the night. It really, really suits me. And I love being a teenager myself. I'm really young. So, you know, that is not for me. So when someone says to an asexual person who's in their teens, for example, oh, you can't know yet, or it's too early, too soon to know, or it's just a phase, I don't accept that. I think that is ridiculous to say that a young person, just because of their age, doesn't know their own mind, doesn't know their own feelings. And, you know, I applaud anyone who's young but old enough to know what they want in life. You know, that doesn't mean to say it can't change. Like, anyone can change, can't they? Anything and they want in their life, to be perfectly frank with you. But at the end of the day, you know, I respect people for who they are, and I respect, you know, younger people as well. You know, just because you're a teenager doesn't mean to say you don't know who you are. In fact, as a teenager, you're probably more likely to know who you are, in the sense of, you know, if you're really not attracted to anyone, usually as a teenager, that's when all the hormones come out and all the hormones are flying around. If you're really going to start to be sexually attracted, most of the time you're going to get it in your teens. You're going to get inklings of it. If you really don't feel that way at all, then it's already a strong sign, isn't it, that you're definitely asexual and that you're probably likely to be throughout your life. Anyway, Henry's story. How did they discover they're asexual? I first started questioning my sexuality Once some of my friends started dating each other in middle school, I'd always distanced romance from myself, seeing it most prominently in fiction, in fictitious works where it's greatly exaggerated. But when the people around me started getting involved, it made me wonder, why am I not interested in this? Like at all. And I think that's a real sure sign that you are an aromantic asexual. If you're not interested in any romance whatsoever, that's a really surefire way of knowing you're aromantic. So unlike most asexuals, I actually knew the terms asexual and aromantic through Tumblr before I ever started wondering about my sexuality. So once I did start noticing I was different, it was pretty easy to latch onto the label. It fitted me, so I identified with it. I think that's really, really good. If they'd already heard of the terms, so they know what they mean, and then you can recognize it a lot quicker. I mean, I didn't find out I was asexual till 2014. If I had found out I was asexual earlier than that, it would have helped, I think, especially in my last sexual relationship, because there was clearly something different about me, I think. And the person didn't quite get it. They weren't particularly nice some of the time. Sexually, they were very good. They were like a completely different person, really kind, caring, thoughtful, put me first in that way, usually. So that was really good. But yeah, they used to say stuff like, "Are you a lesbian?" And I'm like, "No." But I think they were just distracting from what I was saying, because they used to like look at stuff on TV that I hated, like nude women and stuff to do with women, and I didn't like that. So I think they were just trying to turn the tables on me and accuse me of being lesbian to take the heat off them of actually going around oogling loads of women and doing whatever over their music videos or whatever, which I later got told about. Yeah, like I really wanted to know that. Anyway, yeah, so I digress. How do you identify yourself asexually? This is for Henry. Aromantic asexual. If I was inclined to, I could probably find a few more specific labels that fit me, but it's so much easier to explain without the more specific stuff. And while some other labels may fit me better, I'm perfectly content with just ace and aro. So if you didn't know, ACE, ace is short for, or the nickname for asexuals, and ARO is short for aromantic. So an aro ace or an arrow ace, however you want to pronounce it, arrow or arrow or some other ARO, basically ace is short for aromantic asexual. Are you out about being asexual? If not, why not? If you are out, whom to and how did they react? Yes, I came out to my parents first and later started mentioning it whenever it was appropriate or when the subject came up to my friends. So far, no one has reacted negatively. I've gotten a few "isn't that like a plant" statements, but once I or someone else in the room explains the definition, the person has been like, "Oh, okay, sorry, cool." And then the subject is dropped, although I don't exactly expect that track record to keep up. So yeah, I mean, that isn't that like a plant? It kind of gets a bit tiresome. But I guess if people really don't know about asexuality and they've heard of asexual reproduction in plants, I guess probably their brain would likely automatically go on to like, isn't that like a plant? As in, I've heard of asexual stuff to do with plants before. Isn't that what you mean, like that? Because I guess they don't know any different, do they? But it can be a bit insulting to asexual sometimes, or a bit like, not this again. What's your deepest fear, concern, or worry about being asexual? I don't really have any. I mean, there's the obvious fear of rejection based on it, but I already know that the people I care about don't/won't mind. And those that do, I don't care about. My sexuality is part of me and I'm secure with it. And I think that's a really important message, is that the people who are not good in your life, the people who are ridiculed, don't understand you, don't, are negative, those are the people that don't matter in your life, and the people that do matter in your life, they won't care about, what label you give yourself, and they won't care about the fact you're asexual. They'll just love you for who you are, because that's true friendship and true love, is when you love and care about a person for who they are. You don't try and change them or manipulate them or, you know, be down on them just because, you know, they're different to you. You appreciate them for who they are and support them in of their own right. And that is so important. So why do you feel in general that society doesn't accept asexuality as a form of sexual orientation in its own right? And what can be done about this? Xenophobia, mostly. People who aren't particularly bright or were raised in a certain way are afraid and wary of anything that isn't like them. And I so agree with this statement. Most of their thought process is just, you don't like sex? Question mark. But I like sex. You must be lying, broken, damaged. Oh, it doesn't say damaged. It says you must be lying / broken / a demon. Demon sounds really harsh. The fact that the media is positively obsessed with sex doesn't help either. I have to agree with that, totally. As for what can be done about it, the most prominent issue is visibility. Most people don't even know that asexuals exist. This lack of knowledge means that when we do hear about it, their opinion is much more likely to be wrong and harmful. This lack of knowledge means when they do hear about it, their opinion is much more likely to be wrong and harmful. Yeah. You know, my philosophy in life is that asexuality is non-negotiable. My asexuality is non-negotiable. You know, when some people start saying, "Oh, asexuality is a real thing," or "I'm not sure it exists," it's like I'm living proof it exists. I was born asexual, but didn't realise it till 2014. Which, you know, but I know from when I look back through my childhood now that I was definitely asexual. And there's a quote by a famous entrepreneur, Steve Jobs. Obviously, sadly, is not with us on planet Earth anymore, but his memory lives on. And one of the quotes is all about, you know, you can't connect the dots looking backwards, you can only connect them looking forwards. And that means that when you look at your past, you can actually see how you got where you are today. And it all makes sense. Your present makes sense because of your past, if you think about it logically, you know. And when I look back at how I was as a kid, you know, like I didn't like anything sexual. I loved kissing as a kid, but I didn't like sexual stuff, you know. Like when I say sexual stuff, I mean sexual intercourse. I didn't like being touched, you know, like in certain places, or, you know, and you know, didn't even like to get physically close to anyone, not even a hug. I'm different now. You know, I can hug people, even strangers that I've just met to say hello and goodbye, that type of thing, not cuddle them. I don't agree with that personally. But yeah, so asexuality is a journey of discovery of oneself, you know, and we're all different. So, as this person's aromantic, what's their view on love? I'm aromantic. That means I don't feel romantic attraction. However, one of the most common misconceptions about aromantic people is that they don't feel love. I'll repeat that. One of the most common misconceptions about aromantic people is that they don't feel love. And I think that's very sad. I mean, I have come across some aromantic sexuals, and some of them seem a bit colder. I mean, asexuals, you know, that they have this really need, aromantic asexuals have this deep need for a kind of bestest ever friendship, you know, and that they're very warm usually and caring and really caring about their friends. But I've come across some aromantic sexuals, for example, on YouTube comments, where literally they don't want anything to do with romance or a relationship. They just want to have sex. That's it. Because they're not romantic, and they're not, you know, they're not a asexual person, they're a sexual person. It's kind of like they just need the sex and they don't need the friendship with that person. They don't need the feeling of belonging with that person like aromantic asexuals do. It's kind of like they just want the sex and nothing else to do with that person, really. And that can come across as a bit cold sometimes, you know. That's why there is a reputation for some aromantics being cold. And from my experience of being around aromantic asexuals, I would say the opposite is true. I would say they're very warm people in general, and they really, you know, love developing really close friendships and really care about the people around them. And it's really, really important to have like really close, bonded, warm friendships. with aromantic sexuals, I've not known many, but I think they can come across as colder because they don't tend to need anyone or anything but themselves, which obviously just relying on yourself is a good thing in one sense, but it's kind of like they sometimes are like they don't care. Like there was a guy I dated, I think it was in 2017, a heterosexual guy, and I'm pretty sure he was an aromantic heterosexual. And it was just there was no like needing a friend. Do you know what I mean? There was no like that type of bonding, and he wasn't romantic whatsoever. Like he didn't like holding hands really. And it was just me instigating that. He didn't really like romantic stuff. Do you know what I mean? I don't even think he knew it was aromantic, but he was cold in a lot of ways. It was like with him, it was like literally being around a mate. But then he didn't treat me very well. He was too busy looking at sexual women in the club. So I don't just think that was his sexual orientation. I think it's just the way he specifically was. He has some problems mentally. So yeah, but I have seen a guy on a YouTube video who literally says I'm aromantic sexual and I'm not interested in having any friendship with a girl. Basically, I just want to have sex or just want to use the F word, So I think that's where it kind of comes to the reputation that some aromantics are cold, but I don't think that of asexuals. And I'm sure there's sexual aromantics not. So, for example, there's one on my page, my asexualized page, and she doesn't come across as cold-hearted at all. She's an aromantic sexual, married to a heterosexual, and she loves, even though she's aromantic, she loves romantic gestures, even though she's not romantic herself. So she loves the kissing, the cuddling, all that type of thing, even though she's aromantic. She doesn't think of it as romantic, she just thinks it's a nice activity to do. So, that isn't true of all aromantic sexuals either. And I think that's really important to note that, because I think, it's horrible when people get a reputation or a certain thing gets a reputation for being a certain way. It's not nice of anyone to be labeled as cold-hearted or cold. Do you know what I mean? So I think you've got to take everyone on their own merits and individuality. And I haven't found that to be the case with aromantic asexuals. The opposite, actually. I think they're very warm usually. They're really bonded to their friends and a deep emotional connection, needing to stay friends with them type of way. They really value their friendships. Does that make sense? So anyway, so with Henry's story, have I ever been in love before? Well, no, not in the way most people assume, because when people assume that aromantic or asexual people can't feel love, it's hurtful and wrong. I love my family, I love my friends, I love myself. Any of that love is just as real, just as important, and just as painful to lose as romantic love. And I think that's a really important thing, like all love is very, very important. And when you lose any type of love, it does hurt. I mean, I think the worst thing is if you stop loving yourself or give yourself less love than you deserve. Loving yourself is actually a full-time job in and of its own right. And sometimes when we do things in our life, it can take us away from loving ourselves. Especially when you've got all social media stuff and people coming in and out of your inbox all the time. It's good if you get great people in there that support you and stuff, but not everyone's like that. So I think it's really good to have friends around. I'm seeing one of my best asexual friends tomorrow. I know he loves me dearly as a friend, so that's really good. And I say tomorrow, it's today now because it's gone through to Sunday. So I'm really, really thrilled to be seeing him today, now. Yeah, and it's just really important that this person who's aromantic, Henry, says that, that all types of love are very important, So, and Henry's not currently in a relationship. So, if you're not in a relationship, would you like to be in one? If so, why, and what type of relationship? I have no interest in a sexual or romantic relationship with anyone, nor a clear platonic relationship, as some asexuals find fulfilling. However, I thrive on platonic relationships. I couldn't do without my friends. Okay. this person, have they had sex before? And would they? I've not had sex and do not want to have sex. The idea of doing that with another person is frankly repulsive to me. So I think it's very, very good. This person hates kids. I would never do that to myself. Nope, not happening. And they have no interest in marriage. So how difficult is it for you to be asexual in a sexualized world? So far, it hasn't been that difficult. I do me, you do you. If roughly 99% of the population enjoy sex, it only makes sense that media would be sexualized. I feel that if asexual people were acknowledged and the media didn't say that everybody needs sex, you need sex, I need sex, sex, then I wouldn't have any problems with over sexualization. Even now, I just let it pass me by for the most part. And that's the thing. Do you know what I mean? You have choices in life. You can choose to look at all the sexual stuff in the world, or you can choose to block it out and cut it out of your life. I don't watch TV. Not on my parents have got it on. I see it because I'm around my parents. And sometimes I'm looking at my phone doing other stuff. But I choose not to switch the TV on and watch stuff that's got adverts with sex on it. I don't like sculptures with nudity in it. I don't like anything to do with sex. Don't like looking at nude stuff. And so you have choices in life. It's no good sitting there saying, oh, the world's so sexualized and I'm exposed to it. Unexpose yourself to it. There are things you can do. I understand that because obviously the world is highly sexualized. But what I'm saying is don't say that you can't do anything about it when you can't change what other people do. You can't change the world being highly sexualized, but you can change your world, your part of the world, into being less sexualized by not watching TV, by not watching films with sex in them, by switching things off or not having the picture on or just having the word, like if you're watching a music video, you can just listen to the music without watching the video, for example, if you don't want to see all the sexualized stuff in there. So we do live in a highly sexualized world, and I totally agree with you that it is hard if you want to watch TV and you want to watch movies and everything like that. But I managed to find a lot of no sex films because I do reviews on no sex movies, as you know, on this channel from time to time. So there are still a lot of movies with no sex in them, which just proves that we can get away from it sometimes, And it's like, I don't watch soaps. I used to be a soap addict. I don't do that anymore. I don't want to see people with their tops down, with their breasts hanging out and stuff like that nearly. It's just not interesting for me. I don't want to waste my life doing that. So although we live in a highly sexualized world, there are certain things that we can do to cut down the amount of exposure we've got to it by not going and buying magazines that have got ads that are sexualized in them, by not going on, watching TV, by not going on certain sites that is going to have all those type of things on there as adverts. There's a lot we can do. And I just wanted to say that being a romantic person and an unromantic person is totally okay, and both are valid in life. And just because you're not romantic doesn't mean to say you can't have a relationship if you want one, because you can. Just like someone who's not sexual can also have a relationship without sex. A relationship is defined by the two people that are in it. I've already said this before. It really is defined by you and the person, or people if you're polyamorous, who are having that relationship. It's no one else's business, really. Do you know what I mean? Unless you want to make it other people's business, like I do, by sharing my own asexual journey in order to help you in yours. Do you know what I mean? I kind of tell the world a bit about what's going on in my life. And I've got so much to catch up on in the coming week with you. But I hope you've appreciated the fact that we have been celebrating Aromantic Awareness Week, or otherwise known as Aromantic Awareness Week, and there are people in the world that just don't experience any romantic attraction, and in the case of asexuals, they don't experience any sexual attraction either. They are just as valid, just as important as people who do experience romantic attraction and do experience sexual attraction. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me in this series. This is the very last one. and I will see you on the next video or live stream. If you like to give this video a thumbs up, I really, really appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified every time I go live right now, post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Like I said, I really appreciate you being here. Love you lots. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful day wherever you are. Lots of love. Bye.